Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. It is Saturday, November 19th. Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith looking and feeling a little bit better here on this Saturday as we are ready for a massive Saturday NHL card, and it is massive today. We're talking 15 NHL games on the slate today, pretty much all but two teams in action, so it's a huge Saturday. Alex, first of all, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, much better. Like I said, I've been having some issues with this flu and trying to kind of manage my medications and different things. So doing much better, finally able to eat and feeling a lot better. So, glad to be back, like I said, with a big card today. Isn't it interesting with now, since we've had 32 teams, have we had a day where all 32 teams have played? I don't know if it's logistically possible, honestly.
I think this is as close as we've gotten. Honestly, today, a day where we have obviously 15 games on the board and 30 of the 32 teams in action, but I don't think we've seen all 32 yet on a particular day.
We saw the NBA. The NBA pulled it off on election day last week here, and they started every game 15-minute intervals. I think that'd be a really cool thing to see the NHL do, especially in the second half of the year with no football and in competition. I think that would be kind of a cool thing. Have whip around coverage, have both of the TV networks get involved here in the U.S. and of course in Canada. I think that would be a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, that's a good point of Javier Schrader. Just one quick note on the LA game last night. Yeah, good win for Vancouver. Demko was great. It was best game of the year. Not even close. I mean, there is no doubt about it. I've not seen Demko play better than he did last night. We know there's a good goalie in that guy, but let's see a little bit more. Let's see if he can keep it going for more than one start. But it was a good positive step forward for a guy that's obviously had a rough season in net for the Canucks. And look, even defensively in front of them, they were better. So nice win for Vancouver. That's now 2 wins in a row. We'll see if they can get on a little bit of a roll here after what's been a disappointing start to the season. All right, let's get into Saturday. Huge slate. We will start with first of two afternoon games on the slate, New Jersey and Ottawa. The Devils minus 145, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. Jimmy Murphy was with me yesterday on Friday, and he used Ottawa as a best bet on the show yesterday from this card today, saying today's the day that the win streak ends for New Jersey. And, it is a little bit of a tricky spot just because it's the end of a road trip for them, a successful road trip, one obviously where they've won every game. Do they get tripped up here by Ottawa, a Senators team that's been struggling but did finally bounce back and get off the schneid with a nice, solid win, I would say, against Buffalo, albeit Buffalo struggling now as well. But give Ottawa credit. It was a better performance from them in that game. We'll see if there's a carryover to today against New Jersey. Thomas Chabot, of course, remains on IR. So can that blue line hold up? Jake Sanderson, Travis Hamonic, Eric Brandstrom, JBD, Jacob Bernard Docker, Nick Holden, Jacob Larson against that New Jersey team. And that's going to be the question mark going forward in this game today, is that Ottawa blue line minus Chabot trying to defend this Devils team. Anton Forsberg will be in net for the Ottawa Senators for this game. He was in net for the win against Buffalo. Played pretty well, actually. 1 goal allowed on 30 shots, 29 saves made by Forsberg in that game. As far as New Jersey goes, they've been obviously going with Vitek Vanacek quite a bit with Mackenzie Blackwood on IR. We don't have a goalie confirmation yet, but sounds like we might see Akira Schmid in net here this afternoon for the New Jersey Devils. Not confirmed yet, but there's some projections out there saying there's a possibility that Lindy Ruff is going to give Vanacek a little bit of a break, and we might see Schmid in net. I think I'd gravitate a little toward an over 6.5 if that's the case. I mean, I'm just not. I applaud Jimmy and his guts. I will say that for taking Ottawa here against this New Jersey team. I'm not going to lay it either with New Jersey. I mean, minus 145, end of a road trip, not the value I'm looking for, but I'm just not ready to fade New Jersey right now either. They've found ways to win even when they haven't played their A game, and you're going to need something pretty damn good from Ottawa in order to get this victory and beat this New Jersey team. What I've been impressed with the Devils is just how much balance they have in their lineup. All 4 lines can score. It's been impressive. It can be Jack Hughes one night. It can be Jesper Bratt another night. Nico Hischier another night. Igor Sharangovich. Miles Wood on the fourth line is like 7 or 8 goals this year. I mean, they're getting contributions from everywhere, this Devils team, and it's been pretty special to watch it. So I applaud Jimmy, and I wish him all the best with his best bet. I applaud the bravado that he has taken Ottawa here. I'm passing on the side. If we do see Schmid as in net, and even without him, I do lean a little bit to over 6.5. Alex, what do you think here, Devils, Senators?
Yeah, if there was a time to fade New Jersey, I feel like this would be the spot and the price. You know, the early start's not going to matter much to them. They play a lot of these games, so you kind of throw that out the window, like I said, but at the end of a road trip as well. And maybe that's probably the thing to look at with these early starts too. It's where do they land? And if they land, late in a road trip, maybe that's, it's just, we get playing the game earlier, we get home a little earlier. Maybe there's that kind of carryover mentality. This is a spot where I'd probably look to, watch the game live, get a feel after the first period. And if this is a tie game after 20, maybe take a shot one way or the other, in game.
And remember, these teams just played recently in New Jersey, and it was a 4-3 win for New Jersey, but Ottawa played them tough in that game. Let's not forget that. So that's why, we got to be ready to go if you're New Jersey, if you're going to extend this win streak here. Ottawa did play them tough in the first go-round. As far as player props go, I'm not really going to go and belabor the point, but it's basically you sprinkle a little on a bunch of guys if you're New Jersey, because what you do is you maybe put a little bit on Miles Wood to score, a little bit on Sharon Govich, Bratt. You could go with Zetterlund as well for more value. I mean, Hughes and Hischier are well priced in terms of their goal props. On the Ottawa side of things, we've talked about Pinto repeatedly, about him being a value option. Who might be a sneaky value option because he got a lot of chances in the last game against Buffalo? Matthew Joseph, actually, moving up to the second line. He had a bunch of chances against the Sabres, and he's had 5 shots on goal the last 2 games since he's moved up to the second line. So I think Matthew Joseph might be a little value with Ottawa in terms of a goal scorer prop for this game. All right, the second of the 2 afternoon games. This should be a really good game, fascinating game, storylines aplenty, the revenge game, if you will. You got players on both sides facing their old team for the first time. Should make for an exciting situation. Calgary and Florida. The Panthers minus 135, home favorites, 6 the total. Matthew Tkachuk playing against the Flames for the first time. Huberdeau and Weegar facing the Panthers for the first time. So you know what that means from a prop standpoint. Maybe you look at all 3 of those guys. They want to make an impact here, playing their former team. You always are fired up. You want to do damage, whether it's Tkachuk, whether it's Huberdeau, whether it's even Weegar, who doesn't score obviously a lot, but to get a point, even if you're not comfortable with taking a shot on him to score a goal, I'm always liking those kind of prop situations for sure. I'm going to be a fucking stubborn guy here and take Calgary again. This team has just burned me so many times, but they're good. They're playing good in their losses. It's going to feel hollow because they're not winning the games, but they played good again against Tampa Bay earlier this week. They outshot them. They outplayed them. They just couldn't bury the puck enough. And Markstrom lets in a soft goal, which was the backbreaker. When they made it 2-1 Calgary, they got back into it in the third period. And then just seconds later, just a horrible goal for Markstrom to give up. And it went to 3-1 Tampa Bay, and that was the end of the game. But Calgary is playing well enough to win these games. I cashed a ticket fading Florida as favorites in their last game against Dallas. They lost 6-4. We'll see who's in net. We haven't heard confirmation yet. I think if you're Paul Maurice, you've got to commit now to Spencer Knight. You have to. I mean, Bobrovsky's just too up and down. He was good against a depleted Washington team and then just chased from the net after 4 goals allowed in the first period to Dallas the other night. No consistency there whatsoever. Big injury loss, though, for Florida potentially. Alexander Barkov, illness, didn't play in that game against Dallas, and you could see the impact his absence made. He's feeling better, could return, but not for sure yet. We're still waiting on that. So sounding like he might play, but we don't know 100% if Barkov will be in. But either way, whenever I see Calgary at the underdog price, I'm interested. And yes, they're having a tough time. They did have that 2 wins in a row to snap the losing streak, and then they lost the first game of this trip. But, man, you're seeing good play out of this team in terms of carrying the play, not giving up a whole lot defensively, yet what they do give up seems to end up in the net. That's what's most frustrating about this unfortunate little bad luck run that Calgary's been on of late. But I've got to lean to that. I've definitely got to look toward them at a plus price here in this spot. I still think Florida here, from what I see night to night with them, a little overvalued. I thought that against Dallas, and I think that here as well. Alex, what do you think here, Calgary, Florida?
Yeah, it's gonna be a pass for me. I totally agree with you. I think this is a too high of a line for Florida, but Calgary, like I said, the form that they've been in, and I've gotten burned with them a couple of times as well. I just don't really want to back them. This big card like this is one of those nights where I'll probably pass quite a few games. This is definitely one of them.
Great game to watch, though. I mean, with all the storyline,
Sure.
all the
Oh yeah.
players playing their former teams. I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun. I think a good prop game too, because I'm going to come back to Adam Ruzicka again. As long as he stays on the top line, I think he's going to have a chance to be someone to score a goal for Calgary. For Florida, there's a bunch of options. I'm seeing on a couple of sites now where there's a big shakeup with potentially Barkov missing, where you could see Colin White playing on the top line. The old veteran Eric Stahl looks like he is going to be on the second line potentially here. What is this, 2012, not 2022? But nevertheless, they look like they might be moving him up the lineup for the Panthers here today in this game. And also moving up the lineup, he's a guy I think that scored in the last game for Florida, if I'm not mistaken. My timing has been off betting his goal score prop, but this could be a day to get back involved with it. Because I believe I'm just confirming, is he on? Yes, he's scheduled to be on the top line with Bennett and Tkachuk today. E2 Cool Mint Lusterinen. I really do think that is someone that you want to consider here. Once again, especially now that it looks like he might be playing top line tonight for the Florida Panthers with Bennett and with Tkachuk, it looks like. Yeah, Tkachuk is on the top line. I said Colin White. Tkachuk is going to be on the top line. White, the second line. But Lusterinen in particular could be on that top line, which means he ain't going to be priced like it in terms of his goal score prop. E2 Kuhlman Lusterinen, by the way, plus 430 in some spots to score a goal. And if he's on the top line, that's certainly a great value there. All right, Detroit, Columbus. Rest of the games are tonight. We've got Detroit minus 140, road favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. I can't believe Columbus is actually winning a bunch of games in a row with everybody they have out, but somehow they have, and you got to tip your cap to them. Beat Philadelphia and Montreal back-to-back games this week with just an infirmary of injuries. I mean, it's just insane who's out. Lionade, Danforth, Voracek, Roslovic. 4 key forwards are all on IR or out due to injury. And then you've got 4 regular starting defensemen. Jake Bean, Zach Werenski, Adam Boquist, Nick Blankenberg out. And yet here they are. They still found ways to win games. You got to give Columbus credit. So I'm going to pump the brakes on fading Columbus now. I think at some point they're going to level off as long as they remain this shorthanded. But I'm not going to guess when that's going to be. It's not a great spot for Detroit either. You're out on the West Coast, right? And then you're flying back to the Midwest here all the way to the East, actually, to Columbus for this game with just one day off in between. Situationally, it's advantage Columbus. Honestly, it is in this game, and they're finding ways to win right now. So maybe the slightest of leans to the Jackets, but I ain't going to touch it. I ain't, because I just think the moment I bet them, that's when you end these injuries that are just so plentiful right now for them. Eventually, they're going to it's going to come home to roost how many key players are out, and they're not going to be able to overcome the number of injuries they're dealing with every single game. So I'm going to end up passing. Jonas Korpisalo, by the way, confirmed in net, as you would expect, with Merzlikins still out, and we don't know who's in net for Detroit yet, but projected to be Ville Husso as of right now. Alex, what do you think here, Detroit Columbus?
I like this first period over 2. It was up as high as plus 120, which I think that's a decent value. And then Detroit, not necessarily the fastest paced team, but like I said, with Columbus, eventually you think the walls are going to come down with those cluster injuries on the blue line. Korpisalo still just trying to find his form back. We've seen some higher scoring games with the Wings as well. Saw them give up 8 to New York, and then they score 7 of their own in their last game. So they do have the offensive potential. They just need a team to kind of bring it out of them. I think Columbus can do that. So first period over 2 plus 120 with Jackets and Wings.
I think the over 6.5 actually might be something I consider once I get confirmation of goalies. I mean, Detroit got in a bit of a shootout against San Jose. Columbus still continues to be an over machine. I've been betting this team over the total a ton. 4 straight overs, 6 of the last 7. I probably will end up getting back to the well with the over. And then I'm looking at the series history. 4 of the last 5 have gone over the total. Columbus, Detroit, 5-2, 5-4, 5-3, 5-4. A lot of goals. So I think that probably will be an official play for me, over 6.5. And Alex likes the first period over here with Detroit and Columbus. All right, Pittsburgh and Winnipeg. We've got the Penguins minus 120, road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I don't think I can back Pittsburgh. I like Winnipeg the way they're playing at home, But at the same time, Pittsburgh, in this situation, I could see them, after getting the win against Minnesota, they're a streaky team. They win one, they seem to win 2 or 3 after that. You might see something like that here, and they're actually fully healthy. Looks like everybody accounted for here for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And at the same point in time, while I do like the way Winnipeg's playing at home, 6-1 they are on home ice this year. They're still without Appleton and Ehlers up front, couple defensemen out. And, if not for Kyle Connor, they might have lost at home to Anaheim the last game. So I didn't think they played their best in that game. I could make a good case either side, honestly, in this game. So when that's the case, I'm probably going to lay off the side. As far as the goalie matchup here in this game, we expect it's probably going to be Hellebuck here in net for the Winnipeg Jets. As far as Pittsburgh goes, it's looking like we are going to see, I would think, Jari. Yes, Jari again in net. Hellebuck for Winnipeg. I figured Jari getting the win against Minnesota, even though he still gave up some goals, that they would go back to him, and that is indeed the case with Jari being the starter tonight. Alex, what do you think here, Pittsburgh, Winnipeg?
Yeah, I like Pittsburgh in this spot. I watched that win against Minnesota. Like I said, yeah, they, defense was still a bit shaky, but they're getting their offense rolling. And one of the things that I heard, I know some people were obviously around town. Pittsburgh stayed in town an extra night. They had a big dinner over at the St. Paul Hotel, and kind of, like I said, they got everybody healthy now. They know how, things went with that first long road trip they had. That was, kind of a miserable stretch, kind of put them down in the bottom of the hole. You look back now, they've now won 3 of the last 4 games on the road. I feel like they're kind of taking their time, bonding together a bit. And, this is obviously a close group. We talk about the veterans that have been there for such a long time. I think they've got things rolling in the right direction. And like I said, it's a good Winnipeg team. They've won 6 or 7 at home. This won't be a cakewalk, but I think the Penguins have things right back where they were closer to the beginning of the year than they did during that little blip where they were kind of losing games every night. So I like Pittsburgh here at a cheap price.
All right, like in Pittsburgh here, -120. Couple props that I would keep an eye on. They just called up someone. He's played a couple games with the Jets, Mikey Esimont, on the third line. He's done a nice job for Winnipeg. He's had some chances. Maybe you take a flyer on the goal prop with him. Jason Zucker, it goes without saying. I've been talking about Jason Zucker for a long period of time now and how he's been able to chip in offensively lately for the Penguins. So that's not a bad option. I'd go with Brock McGinn. He's feeling it right now for Pittsburgh as well. 4 goals in the last 5 games for him. So not a bad option there as well. Those are the 2 I like the most on the Pittsburgh side of things, McGinn and Zucker, in terms of goal scorer props in that Pittsburgh and Winnipeg game. All right, Colorado and Washington. We've got Colorado -120 to -125, road favorites, 6 being the total in this game. Colorado found a way. I mean, didn't play all that great, to be quite honest with you. It was really the Pavel Francouz show against Carolina the other night. He played extremely well in that game. We'll see if it carries over here to this game tonight against Washington, assuming he gets the start, which you would think he will. We'll see if that is indeed him in between the pipes tonight for the Avalanche. But he played well, so well that maybe they give him another start. Kemper's in net tonight for Washington. They're still banged up. I've said this repeatedly. Wilson, Oshie, Orlov, Hagelin, Brown, Backstrom, all out of the lineup for this team. They at least got John Carlson back a couple of games ago, but there's no question this is a wounded Washington team, one that until they get their closer to full strength, I'm not really looking to back them. I give them a hell of a good deal of credit for the effort against St. Louis. I thought they played pretty well. Deserved 2 points in that game, but they ended up losing to the Blues in a shootout. Colorado on this road trip continuing to, like I said, find ways to win. The numbers come down here, and again, they're betting against Colorado a little bit, down to -115, -120 as road favorites. And look, Colorado does have a couple of injuries of their own. They've got Sam Girard, Bowen Byram day-to-day on the blue line out. Of course, Big Val Nichushkin and Landeskog have been out for a while. But they are finding ways to win right now, this Avalanche team. And I haven't bet Colorado yet, but I'm damn sure getting more interested with this line dropping to -115, -120 on the Avs. I'm definitely leaning to Colorado now with the price drop. What do you think here, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And like I said, Kemper getting the start against his old team.
His old team, yeah.
That's an angle I kind of look at from time to time, but I can't back Washington. It has to be Colorado or pass for me. It's more likely will be a pass. I do want to kind of go back quickly, mention Akira Schmid is starting for the New Jersey Devils in that.
You know how I could tell he was going to start? He was starting. See the money flowing in on Ottawa right now. That's how I can tell.
Yeah, and also it is confirmed that Hellebuck will go with Jari in that Winnipeg Pittsburgh game. So this is a pass for me on Colorado Washington.
All right, Colorado. This is more of a prop game. I say Sonny Milano again and Connor Sheary for Washington. Like those are the two guys if you're going to bet Washington props. I mean, Sheary's on the top line. Milano's made a little bit of an impact. Colorado, Rodriguez and Newhook are the two I would really zone in on. These two guys scored the other night. They've been impactful. Martin Kaut and Logan O'Connor as well. They've chipped in a little bit. Those are the four guys that are undervalued in the prop market for Colorado right now. Going into this game, they've been doing a lot of the damage. I mean, when it's not been McKinnon and Rantanen and some of the big guns, it's been O'Connor, it's been Kaut, it's been Newhook, and it's been Rodriguez for the Colorado Avalanche. All right, next up, we've got the Buffalo Sabres, who are suddenly not waiting until December to go through their little epic collapse, if you will. They're going through it right now. It's been a rough go for the Buffalo Sabres. Toronto minus 275. Home favorites in this game, 6.5 the total, pretty much across the board. This is always the opponent, though, that gets maximum effort out of Buffalo. We've talked about how they've always been a thorn in the side of the Toronto Maple Leafs all these years. I mean, I think there's a good time for the Sabres to be playing Toronto. They need something to spark them. You know, they've lost 7 in a row. Their schedule's been brutal. I will say that. I don't want to totally excuse Buffalo because, look, they're not playing their best. But look at the schedule. Carolina on the road, Tampa on the road, back home, Arizona, Vegas, Boston, 2 more tough teams. Vancouver was, should have won that game. I can't excuse them for that. You got to win that game at the end of the homestand. They lost to Vancouver. And then they back-to-back, and they played Ottawa without rest. So they played a lot of games and a lot of games against good competition. Won't get any easier here against Toronto because Toronto's off a loss. They're not happy with the fact that 3 giveaways of the puck, 3 turnovers led to New Jersey goals in that loss to the Devils. So they're going to want to clean that up. Buffalo does seem to always make it difficult on the Leafs. I mean, look at series history. Buffalo has won 4 of the last 5 meetings against Toronto. 5-2, 5-1, 5-2, 5-2. In fact, last year they won the last 3 meetings in a row against Toronto. And the only Toronto victory since February of 2020 was 5-4. By the slimmest of margins. So you talk about Buffalo really being a pain in the ass to Toronto. It's been that way repeatedly. I don't do this very often, but this is one of those games where I think I would do a sprinkle on the Buffalo money line split with the Buffalo plus 1.5 at even money on the puck line. Not put it all on the money line, but put a little bit on the money line and a little bit on the plus 1.5 at plus 100 on Buffalo. Because I do think they come in here, loose. Even they're struggling, but they got nothing to lose here. Toronto's laying the big price. I get it. Off a loss, you'd expect a bounce back effort, but Buffalo has been repeatedly a tough team for Toronto to beat at all, let alone beat by margin. So, I definitely I think make a little bit of a case here for for Buffalo in this game. Money line split with the puck line. Lean over the total as well. What do you think here, Alex, with Sabres and Leafs?
Yeah, I haven't had too many big dogs this year, but this is one I like. I'm going Buffalo plus 230 here. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen been called up with Eric Kramer going down. This guy's the future, and we saw him play well last year. He's gone through some injury issues, but he's bounced back nicely down in Rochester. I think this could be one of those spots. And this is a classic Maple Leaf shit the bed on Hockey Night in Canada spot, too. We've seen them as big favorites over the years lose these games. Like I said, Buffalo's won 4 of the last 5 meetings against them. So I think this is a good night to turn things around. It's amazing they even got the hell out of Buffalo. If you see all the photos of the snow, literally 6 feet of snow falling down in that area. So I'm sure they're at least happy to be out of that mess. But yeah, give me Buffalo plus 230 here. I think this is one of those spots they end up find a way to take advantage of a Toronto team that, like I said, they don't just always get off to some of the best starts on these Saturday night affairs. So take a shot here with them.
And how many times do we see that team with the guy that's been called up? And look, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is not some newbie. I mean, he started a bunch of games for the Sabres, but this will be his first start this season. Everyone wants to play well and give a good effort and help their goalie out. So I'd expect that with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen getting the first start of the season for the Buffalo Sabres. You look at his numbers in the past, 2020, not so good. 2021, though, 9 games with the Sabres, 2.74 goals against, 917 save percentage. Respectable numbers for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen last year with Buffalo. So, again, you can never feel comfortable if you're going to lay minus 275 with Toronto. And I think you feel even less comfortable playing a team like Buffalo, considering they've given them fits every single time.
Well, and that's the importance of, like I said, when I do my goalie charts, which those will be updated today, that we've had so many changes in the last 48 hours, I've had to basically kind of do them on the fly a bit. But, that's the importance of having that in my power rankings, is because, teams, people will automatically jump and see this matchup and say, oh, Toronto, are always going to be a big favorite, but now an even bigger favorite because of this third string goalie that's in. Well, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's actually pretty good enough to possibly be the starter for this team. He's certainly going to be one moving forward. They just wanted to give him a little bit more time to develop, but he's got great size, good control with rebounds. I've watched him play quite a bit, like I said, between AHL and NHL starts. He's definitely developing into somebody who's going to be a solid number one goalie in this league. So I think there's some good value with him.
Yeah, definitely. Matt Murray in net, by the way, tonight for the Leafs. Actually played well. The New Jersey game, I thought he played well, and even in a loss. The team turned the puck over right in front of him. All 3 goals led to that. So I can't really hold Matt Murray at fault too much for that. So we'll see how he fares here in this one. But, this has been a tough team for Toronto over the years. We'll see if Buffalo gives them another tough matchup tonight in Toronto against the Leafs. All right, Philadelphia and Montreal. Next up here, we've got Montreal minus 135, home favorite, 6 the total in this game. Philadelphia is definitely not a team I'm looking to back right now. They're kind of going in the direction we kind of thought they would coming into the season. They've lost 5 in a row. I've heard the same shit and the same quote from John Tortorella after each of these losses. We got to make more plays. We got to make more plays. I mean, it's like a recording or something. I heard it after the Ottawa game. I heard it after the Dallas game. I heard it again after the Boston game the other night. They lost 4-1. We got to make more plays. We're working hard defensively. We're hanging in there. We're getting decent enough goaltending from Carter Hart. We got to make more plays offensively. So it's a broken record. At some point, the words have got to turn into action, right? And we're not seeing that yet with the Flyers. So this is a game where now Montreal, you suddenly look at what we've seen from them the last 3 games, is seeing the defensive floodgates open up. They gave up 4 to Pittsburgh, 5 to New Jersey, 6 to Columbus the other night. So it's not like they've been scoring goals in bunches. I'm going to actually, in this game, it kind of feels like a backs against the wall scenario here for Philadelphia in this game. I'm going to do a little sprinkle on the team total for Philly over 2.5. I mean, I do think that the focus after the Boston game practice, they're just working on the power play. They're working on their breakouts from their offense. Everything was geared toward working on the offense. Now, we've seen this movie before where you work on something and it doesn't get fixed the next game. It's the same shit. So you always get concerned that's going to be the case. But to me, to ask any team right now to score 3 goals or more against Montreal, it's not asking a lot. We have seen this team, especially lately, giving up 3 goals or more to most of their opponents in recent games. I think there's a good chance here you can see 3 from Philadelphia. So as far as this game goes, I would lean a little bit to the Philadelphia team total over. I'm going to keep it a small bet because it's juiced a little bit, but I still like it there over 2.5 for the Philadelphia Flyers. And keep in mind, too, the recent games that they've struggled to put the puck in the net, Boston, Dallas, pretty good defensively. They've seen some pretty tough defensive teams. They played Columbus the other night, weaker defensive team, and they did score 4 in that game. So I've got faith they can at least get me to 3 goals here tonight in a spot where now they've lost a bunch in a row. I expect them to really try to come out firing here, and you just hope the puck goes in for them at some point. Alex, what do you think here? Flyers, Canadians.
This is a game I would only look to bet live. Maybe look for a total. Like I said, if you do see some kind of improved pace and effort offensively with Philly, wait for that 6 to drop down. You might be able to even get a 4.5 at a decent price if they don't score early. But like I said, they got to prove it to me. They said been held to 1 goal exactly in 3 of the last 4. They need to get things rolling. This could be the team to do it against, but I'm going to pass it most likely.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a leap of faith. I mean, trusting Philly to score 3 against anybody right now, but that's also why you're getting 2.5. And again, I think it's against a team that you should, I think, in theory, be able to find the back of the net against. There are some props that I do like. Owen Tippett's the guy for Philly right now. His effort's been great every game. I think goal score prop wise, not a bad option. Montreal, I'd stick to the same 3: Josh Anderson, Kirby Doc, and Mike Hoffman. I think I've talked about them repeatedly, and Suzuki too, but Suzuki is priced like a goal scorer, a good one. So you don't get as much value. I think for me, it's Doc Anderson and Hoffman for Montreal is where I would go from a goal scorer prop standpoint. All right, next up, we've got the Chicago Blackhawks and the Boston Bruins. I mean, is this Boston team ever going to lose on home ice this season? 10-0 now at TD Garden, minus 425 home favorites in Beantown for this game. The total 6 pretty much across the board. I know our old colleague on the Ice Guys, Andrew McGinnis, is in Boston right now. He was at the Flyer Bruin game the other night. He's going to the Patriots game tomorrow, so hopefully he's having a good time there. I know the Bruin fans are having a good time right now watching their hockey team play. I mean, what a season it's been so far for Boston. 15-2, like I said, undefeated, 10-0 on home ice this year. I mean, good luck to Chicago trying to end that home losing streak. That being said, Boston did look asleep against Philly for a large part of that game. And even though they ended up winning 4-1, if Philly scores the first goal, not Boston, we could have been talking about a different game there. So keep that in mind. If Boston's alert in this game, they'll win it, no problem. But we did see them look, and Jimmy said this on the show yesterday. And of course, Jimmy reports on the Bruins daily. He did say they looked a little, going through the motions early. We'll see if that's the case here tonight against Chicago. But can you trust the Blackhawks here? I'm not so sure about that. 2-8 in their last 10 games. They've kind of gone backward in the other direction. I think what's been impressive for Boston is that they've gotten not just the perfection line scoring, they've gotten Hull and Coyle and certainly Tomas Nosek the last game chipping in offensively as well. Chicago, on the flip side, they have had a much harder time scoring goals of late. No question about that. Seth Jones, by the way, remaining on IR for them. And as far as the goaltending matchup here in the Chicago-Boston game, it'll be Mrazek and a returning Jeremy Swayman for the Boston Bruins. He makes his return in between the pipes, giving a red-hot Linus Ullmark a little bit of a break. The question's going to be, how as sharp is Swayman going to be in this game? We haven't seen him start since November the 1st, which was over 2 weeks ago. And his numbers 2-1, but 3.45 goals against, 878 save percentage. So those aren't great numbers. Can Chicago's offense come to life against Swayman tonight's the biggest question. I kind of lean to this being a sneaky over, but I haven't bet it yet. I'm still on the fence with it, but I do lean over the total. Alex, what do you think here? Chicago, Boston.
I'm taking a shot here with the draw. I'm seeing it as high as plus 470 in some spots.
Wow.
I think this might be one of those spots. We don't know exactly what we're going to get from Swayman. He's been out a couple weeks. Hawks, I'm surprised they're actually rolling with Peter Mrazek tonight. That means we're more likely going to see Arvid Soderblom tomorrow in what's going to be a big game at home. That's Marion Host's retirement night against Pittsburgh. So I really thought we were going to see Soderblom in this spot. And had it been Soderblom, I would have been Boston team total to the moon in this one. But I think with Mrazek and net, clearly the better option right now. Not sure what we're getting from Swayman. And like I said, the Hawks struggling offensively. But like I said, if Boston kind of falls asleep in the first period, maybe Chicago can get the first goal and get things rolling. Maybe they just play it tight and keep this kind of low scoring. Also, 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone to overtime. So I think at this big of a price, you have to take a shot at the draw. And also give me the birthday boy, Sir Patrick Kane, to get an assist. So I'm going to go over a half an assist at minus $1.10. We've seen him mature and his game change. He's now more of a playmaker. He's thinking to pass the puck first rather than taking the shot. That's why we haven't seen him do that much in the goal department, but we've definitely seen him rack up points. And the fact that Taves has been playing better offensively, we know, and of course what Kane does on the power play. So I think there's a good value for him to at least get a point tonight, assist rather tonight. So I go that minus $1.10 along with the draw at plus 460.
All right, Tampa Bay, Nashville. Tampa Bay minus 130, road favorite, 6 the total. Nashville's getting a little steam going now, a little bit of a win streak for them. They've perked up. They've won 3 straight games, and 2-1 over the Rangers, 2-1 over Minnesota, and 5-4 against the Islanders. Tampa Bay's won 3 in a row, all at home against Washington, Dallas, and Calgary. They did get, the play dictated to them by Calgary, but doesn't matter when you win the game 4-1. Andrei Vasilevsky was probably one of his better games of the season for a guy that's been kind of up and down at times this year in net for the Lightning, but he was very good in that last game. So you got two teams that are in pretty good form at the moment. I actually do lean a little bit to the over here just because of series history. 2 of the last 3 have gone over the total in this game, but it's nothing that's overly strong. It's just a smaller opinion here in this one. There's more of a prop game. Like I say, Nick Paul, I've talked about him repeatedly being a little bit undervalued in terms of the prop market for Tampa. And I'm going to go back to the well with Juuso Parssinen again. We talked about him. He's been playing on that top line center spot for the Nashville Predators. 2 goals and an assist, 3 points against the Islanders. He scored in his first NHL game last week against the Rangers. This guy has been fitting in seamlessly, honestly. He's looked totally at home, like he's played with Granlund and Forsberg on that top line for years. So it's been impressive to watch Juuso Parssinen play on that top line center spot. And to be honest with you, the prices still haven't been adjusted enough. Like plus 345, plus 330 is what I'm seeing in some books. Top line center that scored 2 goals in the last game, 3 goals in 3 games since he's been called up to the Nashville team. I mean, that is just outstanding value in terms of the goal scorer prop right there. No question about that on Juuso Parssinen for Nashville. What do you think here, Alex? Lightning Predators.
Yeah, this one's more than likely going to be a pass for me. I was kind of leaning toward taking the first period over, but I think if I do that, it would be in a live spot. You mentioned 2 of the last 3 that have gone over in these 2 meetings between these 2 teams. The one that went under was the outdoor game they played in Nashville. So we have seen back and forth action, and Nashville playing better. We know how well they play at home, and it's a Tampa kind of making that turnaround as well. And you mentioned about Vasilevsky. He's been hot and cold this year. And like I said, things we kind of expected early with this team. They kind of go wherever he goes. So, maybe he has a bit of a flat spot tonight and this becomes a high-scoring affair. So first period over live, maybe even look at a full game over live. We'll just get that number to drop and get some better prices.
All right, next up, New York Islanders and Dallas Stars. Dallas minus 145, home favorite, 6 the total in this one. The New York Islanders trying to bounce back after a loss to the Nashville Predators, 5-4 in their last game. That snapped a mini little 2-game winning streak for the Islanders. We'll see if they're able to get back in the win column here tonight. Still 9-3 in their last 12 games overall, the Islanders. They played some pretty solid hockey overall. I'm tempted by the Islanders at this price, honestly, plus 125. I took Dallas against Florida, plus 170. They were as high as that price as an underdog against Florida. They won 6-4. That was the game where Scott Wedgwood got injured, just ended up with that back injury. It was very scary. Had to be actually stretchered off the ice. He looked like he was in significant pain there, Alex. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you mentioned that, and it's interesting because Wedgwood is more than likely going to back up tonight. It's going to be Odger starting, but that was a very scary accident. He could not get up. So they had to stretch him off. Yeah, so didn't hear what exactly the issue was, if it was a stinger or something, but that's something to keep in mind whenever we do see Wedgwood back in action. Was that just a blip, or is this something that could maybe hinder him a little bit, even though it's not bad enough for him to be on IR?
Yeah, no question. That was definitely a worrisome sight, and we'll see how quickly he's able to get back. But he will be. He's able to back up at least. It looks like to Jake Ottinger tonight. So that's at least a good sign that it may not be as bad as we initially feared. I'll tell you what, both of these teams, we've seen Dallas trend over, and we've seen the Islanders. Look, I didn't necessarily buy into them being this much of an over team, the Islanders, because, look, it's a guy that's taken over as the head coach that's coached under Barry Trotz all these years, who's preached defense and a tight, checking, lower scoring style of play. But he's let the Islanders kind of go a little bit more free-flowing this year. The Stars have been trending over, so have the Islanders, and I kind of lean in that direction, especially with Ottinger he's not in his A-plus form since he's been back from his injury. There's no question. He's going to need, I think, a little bit more time. You could always have that game, like maybe tonight's the night where he's just, 1 goal and 38 saves, but it hasn't been that way for him since he's been back from injury. You look at it. San Jose gave up 5 goals. 5 goals to Tampa Bay. He did give up one against Philly, but Philly's been struggling to find the back of the net. And then Florida, he gave up 2 in relief of Wedgwood after he had the back injury the other night. So he hasn't exactly found that best form yet in net. Ottinger since returning from injury. I think Dallas can find the back of the net against, it looks like Varlamov is expected to start, although we don't have confirmation on that just yet, but definitely interested in the over. And honestly, the Islanders have been good off a loss lately too. So I'd lean a little bit to the Islanders here at a nice plus 125. What do you think here, Alan?
Yeah, no, we do have confirmation of Varlamov against Ottinger. And like you mentioned, Ottinger hasn't been in the sharpest of form, but I think he's slowly getting back into the right spot. And like I said, even though these are two teams that normally trend under, looking back at the previous history, the last time we saw 5s on the board, it was these two teams involved. Those are the ways of the dodo now, of course. Everything's 6 and 6.5 with the totals. But I would maybe look to grab a live over if we see a faster pace. But I already took Dallas here in regulation. I got it plus 105, and that was before Ottinger was officially confirmed. I think that's just too cheap of a spot with this Dallas team at home. Ottinger's still a top-tier goalie in my eyes, even though he hasn't been playing the absolute best. This might be one of those spots where he kind of rounds back into form and has a good performance. So I'm banking on that. That's basically largely what I'm betting on. This is more of a goalie matchup than anything else in my eyes. So Dallas in regulation plus $1.05.
All right, Dallas in regulation here, and they do have a good home record. That is true. Dallas at home this year, 4-2. On the home ice. We'll see if they can keep that going here tonight against the New York Islanders. There are some props I like. I'll talk about Wahlstrom. Once again, every game, I think he's worth a look as long as he stays on that top line. He's not going to score every game, but you're not getting him priced the way his line mates are. And as far as Dallas goes, I'd probably look toward Marchment. I'm always interested in him in terms of the goal scorer prop. Wyatt Johnston's cooled off a little bit after a rough start. Jamie Benn and Sagan are starting to perform a little bit, and now you actually have more value with them than you used to. Odds makers have finally seen how inconsistent they've been, and there's been some games where Sagan and Benn have been flirting around the plus 300 range to score a goal. So you're getting a little bit more value with them now, just as they're starting to both heat up, Benn and Sagan, in terms of the goal scoring for Dallas. All right, next game we've got is Anaheim and St. Louis. The Blues minus 200, home favorites in this game. The total right now currently at looks like 6 pretty much across the board here in this game. Should be fascinating to see how it goes. I mean, I'm certainly, when I talk about this Anaheim team, the struggles they've had defensively, I think they're at least trying to be a little bit better at the defensive end of the ice, the Anaheim Ducks. Now, whether that's going to end up being a scenario that plays out well for them long-term remains to be seen. I mean, they're 5-12 this year, a large part due to a team that's just been terrible with the penalty kill, not very good defending in any way, shape, or form. And St. Louis comes in here with that offense starting to really rev up again during this 5-game win streak. What a streaky team, aren't they? This St. Louis team. They lost 7 in a row, and now they've won 5 straight since then, and they've scored 3+ goals in every game during this 5-game win streak, and a grand total of 21 goals during that 5-game streak. So we're talking about a team that's averaging more than 4 goals per game as of late. So I think this game probably's got a shot to get up and over the total of 6 here, Ducks and Blues. You just need a couple here from Anaheim. Interesting to see what the Ducks do offensively, but St. Louis looks like they're going to have Jordan Binnington here in net. Another thing that I like too in terms of the over here is the cluster injury situation we have with both teams on the blue line. I mean, it's Shattenkirk, Drysdale, and Nathan Beaulieu for Anaheim that are on IR. And, St. Louis has multiple defensemen that are out due to injury as well. Bortuzzo, Perunovic, Scandella, and Colton Parayko. Remember, Colton Parayko missed the Chicago game, missed the Washington game, each of St. Louis's last 2 games. What happened? They went over the total. They miss him. They're a much weaker team in their own end, defending in their own end, I find, without Colton Parayko. And it's played out in the results here the last few games, including the Washington game, because they had, 50 shots in that game without Parayko on the ice. So especially if Parayko is a no-go for the 3rd straight game for St. Louis, I'll really be interested even more than I already am in the over here with the Ducks and the Blues. Alex, what do you think here?
Yeah, I like the over here at 6, but I also like the draw here at plus 350. I think this could be one of those back and forth affairs. Anaheim trying to get the offense rolling. We know Gibson just has been a shell of himself this season. Really, really shocking to see how bad he's played. Bennington, we're getting classic Bennington. Good one night, cold the next, up and down, up and down. He's confirmed starter for St. Louis. I think this could be one of those higher scoring games, but I think it goes past 60 minutes. So I'll take over 6 and I'll go draw at plus 350.
All right. Terry Edelman may not be happy with me, but I'm going to be talking about this next game anyway. The Carolina Hurricanes and the Minnesota Wild. We've got Carolina minus 120, road favorites here. The total sitting at 6. I like the Canes here. I mean, I don't really like what I'm seeing out of Minnesota. One game they don't score. The next game they don't defend. The next game they don't get goaltending. I mean, it's just they are not getting all aspects and elements of their game clicking all at once. That's definitely something that concerns me. And you got Carolina off a game that I think is going to leave them even more fired up to get back in the win column tonight. They deserved a better fate against Colorado the other night. 48 shots on goal, 48-15. They lost in overtime to Colorado. So you cannot fault the effort from the Hurricanes in that game. Now you've got a vulnerable, Minnesota team that's lost 3 straight, 2 of them on home ice against Pittsburgh and San Jose. 2-1 loss to Nashville as well. And you mentioned the XL Energy Center. That energy is not filtering down to the home ice team, the Minnesota Wild lately. 2-6 for the Minnesota Wild at home this year. Meanwhile, Carolina's actually been better on the road than at home. 6-4 road record this year for the Carolina Hurricanes. I think they get the job done here in this one. Last year, believe it or not, Minnesota won both meetings against Carolina, but that was last year. Right now, I think you've got current form edge for Carolina. They obviously should have gotten the 2 points, to be quite honest with you, against Colorado the other night. They got stonewalled by Pavel Francouz in that game. I think it's a bounce back spot here for Carolina, and I'll take them minus 120. Alex, what do you think here? Canes Wild.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, the natives are getting restless with this Wild team. The people that were leaving early of that game against Pittsburgh, I went out and grabbed some food, talked to some people, and they said, they just don't look the same. They look slow. They're not passing clean. They're not making the moves that they are capable of doing. This team is definitely playing well below expectations right now. And I know they have the injury issues. I understand Gustafsson being the number one guy is not ideal with Fleury going down, but Fleury wasn't playing that well either. Even though he was trying to get back into form, it still just wasn't there night in, night out. This is a Carolina team, like I said, playing better on the road. And if they get 48 shots off against this Wild team, they can name their score basically. We know that they are one of those teams that can get shots in bunches and quality shots as well. And then they've got Pyotr the Great, Pyotr Kochetkov, and that, like, this is a kid. Like I said, the books are going to have to adjust to him quickly when he does start. He is definitely one of the better third-string goalies in the league. He's the guy who's definitely going to be sticking around in the league, I think, for quite some time once he finally does get his fair shot. And so this is a good spot to back him. I laid the $1.20 as well. I think you could go regulation, but I'm just going to play it a little safer and lay the extra juice. Go money line minus $1.20.
Yeah, minus $1.20, not a bad price at all to take Carolina, in my opinion, and definitely, like I say, Minnesota. They've had basically problems in all facets of their game. Power play stinks too right now. 4 straight games without a power play goal for Minnesota. Penalty kills, giving up a goal now in back-to-back games. The 5-on-5 offense isn't consistent. Some games the defense falls apart. And like I say, now with the situation that's unfolding now with Fleury on IR, now you've got to rely on Philip Gustafsson and his 3.2 goals against, 901 save percentage, and 1-4 record. Not something I'm all that excited about if I'm the Wild.
Yeah, and you mentioned the power play. They're doing the classic Minnesota move of making that extra pass, not taking quality shots with the man advantage. It's just been brutal from that department, and that's something, like I said, you can't give Carolina the edge in special teams on either side, to be honest.
No, you can't do that. There's no question about that. And they are definitely having issues in all facets of their game right now. Make no mistake about it. All right. Next up here as we continue along, by the way, we got 118 live viewers Saturday afternoon. We do want to point out we appreciate that because, again, it makes it worthwhile that we do. We are the only NHL betting show that does it 7 days a week. And when we get people showing up live like this on a Saturday, it's much appreciated. So appreciate all of you on YouTube, hit the like button and definitely show your support. But great turnout as always on a busy Saturday NHL card, especially with a lot of other things going on. I mean, the holiday week is coming up, Thanksgiving week, so we appreciate you guys tuning in. LA and Seattle. We've got Seattle minus 140, home favorites in this game, 6 being the total, pretty much across the board in this one. I'm a little bit surprised it's this high on Seattle, although it is LA on a back-to-back. They played in Vancouver last night against the Canucks in a 4-1 loss for the LA Kings in that game, although I thought they didn't play their best. I thought their execution. I think the effort was there. The execution was not, especially the execution offensively. The passes weren't clicking. They had some chances. They weren't able to finish. And you got to credit Thatcher Demko. Like we said at the beginning of the show, I think it was one of his best games this year. We'll see if LA can bounce back here on the back-to-back situation. Seattle is off a 3-2 overtime win against the New York Rangers. Obviously a big rest advantage. They were at home, no travel, day off yesterday. LA had to play in Vancouver, and they fly in, obviously second of back-to-back games here against Seattle. So it's definitely a spot edge for Seattle. But I ain't going to lay minus 140 here with Seattle, not when I still think LA is the better squad here in this matchup. So for me, it's going to be more than likely a pass when it's all said and done. And I'd probably just stick to props in this game. Schwartz and Eberle for Seattle seem to be the two that are really stirring the drink offensively for them. And obviously for the LA Kings, I can't even mention Velarde anymore because they finally got him priced the way he should be. I'd look more toward Trevor Moore. He looks like he might be showing signs of heating up. Same with Fiala and maybe even Kaliev, who's on the fourth line, yet he seems to get chances and score, and he's not getting priced like it. So more of a prop game for me, and I'd probably put a few bucks on all those players I just mentioned there for finding the back of the net tonight. Alex, what do you think here, LA, Seattle?
Yeah, this would be one I'll more likely watch and look for some live spots on. I lean with the over, even though we've kind of seen Seattle, that over train has kind of cooled down a little bit for them. But like I said, catching LA on the second night of a back-to-back, maybe there's some better opportunities. I think we could probably get a better price waiting in game, even though laying $1.05 isn't bad. I think we could probably get this down to maybe even a 4.5 with a plus price or laying a small price. So that's the angle I'm going to look at here. Like I said, LA, I think they're still the better team too. And usually at a dog price, I like to jump and back them. But I don't know. They're just kind of flip-flopping around. I think we might see a higher scoring affair, but you can wait and get a better price.
All right, next up here on this Saturday card, we got 2 games left, and this is definitely one of the marquee games tonight in the NHL. Vegas taking on Edmonton. We've got the Vegas Golden Knights, just slight road chalk here in Edmonton here, minus 115. Slight road favorites, the Golden Knights. The total 6.5, pretty much across the board in this game. Look, this is definitely, you would think, circle the wagons, bounce back spot potentially for Edmonton. I don't disagree with that. I kind of lean in that direction, but I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger. I don't. Although it is interesting to note, he finally lost a game, and it wasn't his fault. I mean, to be honest with you, against LA, there wasn't any issues with Stuart Skinner's play. It was just they got shut down completely by LA, who played as good a defensive game on McDavid, Draisaitl, and that Oilers team as you could ask for. They just played absolutely terrific defense, the LA Kings, in that game. But they're going right back to Stuart Skinner in net again for the Oilers here tonight. And that's a sign that they still have no faith right now in Jack Campbell at the moment for the Edmonton Oilers. That still they're going to go back here to Stuart Skinner even after a loss. So, but hard to argue that he's definitely outperformed Campbell. I think if Skinner loses tonight, then they try give Campbell another shot. I think that's going to be the plan if you're Jay Woodcroft. What I think is important to keep in mind is I've seen Leon and Connor have just these games where they're totally invisible, and LA made them invisible. It's not like the effort wasn't there, but they made them invisible with the way they defended. It's just so terrific, clogging up the neutral zone, taking away that speed, taking away that ability to make passes through the middle of the ice, taking away time and space in the offensive zone. The LA Kings did all of those things. And usually when Leon and Connor and Jarek is hinting at why I'm leaning Edmonton are just that dismal, that they don't make that, they're that quiet in one game, they usually explode the next, especially on home ice. So I think situationally, I kind of lean Edmonton, but at the same time, Vegas has been a road warrior this year. Obviously, we know they've had a great season so far, 14-4, but 8-1 on the road for the Vegas Golden Knights. Tough to go against them, considering how well they've played. They've certainly been the better defensive team early in the season than Edmonton. So I've got to lean to Edmonton here, but it's not with a boatload of confidence or, vigor. But I've seen this movie before with Connor and with Leon, and this team in particular with those two guys. When those two guys are held off the score sheet and they're made to look silly, if you will, one game, they often respond in the positive the next game. We'll see if they can do that here, though, against a Vegas team that can be stingy defensively and obviously has gotten great play out of their young goaltender, Logan Thompson, who we would expect to see in net for the Golden Knights tonight in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Vegas, Edmonton.
Yeah, I'll pass in this game. Definitely watching it for sure. This is gonna be a fun one to watch and might jump in live. But like you said, this is I think Edmonton definitely need to keep rolling with Stuart Skinner. I think they can, like I said, probably if he loses tonight, they'll go back to Campbell. But you got to get the best out of Skinner right now. I think this is more of backing him than not trusting Campbell. To be honest, we're seeing arguably his best play since he's been a full-time NHLer. So, and for Vegas, like you said, they've been 8-1 on the road. Got that win against the lowly Arizona team that's basically traveling around the world for the next month or so. But I think this would be a good spot for them to try to bounce back, especially against a division rival that you're battling with. So fun one to watch. Might look to jump in and look for some goal next to score props and different things in game, but no position right now pregame.
You know what? Because I'll probably have a few beers, maybe more than a few beers in me by that time, 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. I'm sure I'll end up betting Edmonton for something. I mean, I'm saying right now it's probably a lean, but I'll probably put a few. It's just I'm not overly confident because I know how good Vegas is defensively, but I also know Edmonton's had a really strong track record when their star players get shut down one game, totally shut down. They definitely try to make an impact, show up the next game. I still think there's better hockey in this Edmonton team moving forward, but they definitely have had a bit of a disappointing, erratic, inconsistent start to the season. There's no question about that. There are some props I like, by the way, in this game. Riley Smith and Stevenson are worth a look, in my opinion, in terms of Golden Knights props for Edmonton. Warren Fogle, I keep saying he's starting to get things going offensively for them. Nugent Hopkins has been a consistent go-to prop for me. And look who's moving up to the top line with McDavid, a little bit of a blender with the line combos from Jay Woodcroft. Hyman McDavid and Matthias Janmark is actually going to be on the left side of that top line tonight, skating on the top line in practice on Friday with McDavid and Hyman. Big move. He got his first point last Saturday for the Oilers, and you got to believe he ain't going to be priced like a top line player. I'm going to look into it right now. What can you get with Matthias Janmark to score a goal tonight playing with McDavid and Hyman on the top line? Yeah, plus 460 in some spots. So that's definitely that Ian Cameron classic goal scorer bargain bin prop angle that I love right there. Moving on up the lineup, Janmark in the top line here tonight. And yeah, revenge spot. You're right. Former Vegas Golden Knight for a little bit as well, Matthias Janmark. So that's a great prop. That might be one of my favorite props of the night right there. Because I am trying to do with my subscribers in the email. And also I might start doing this on the show. When I do the best bet, I'll give you a goal scorer prop of the night. It's not necessarily that it's the best value prop, I will say, when I say goal scorer prop. Right. This could be the best value. Plus 475 on a guy that's going to play with McDavid, the best player in the sport, and Hyman on the top line, facing his old team, motivated as all fucking get out to try to make an impact tonight, I'm sure. That's a great prop tonight. Great situation, Matthias Janmark, and obviously a great price as well. Definitely like that one.
Yeah, that makes total sense too. Yeah.
Yep, definitely. And on that top line, and Connor McDavid can play with a dust mop on the top line, and probably the dust mop can find the back of the net playing with a guy like that. All right, New York Rangers and San Jose Sharks, final game of this massive Saturday card. The Rangers minus 155, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Look, I'm going to ride it. Even like the Rangers are just. Something's not right. I mean, they're 8-9. They're below 500. They're only a 4-4 team on the road this year. And San Jose, ugly loss, obviously, against Detroit 7-4. A classic James Reimer spot where he leads them to a shocking upset against Vegas and plays great. And then he comes home and shits the bed against Detroit, gives up 7 goals. I mean, if that's not James Reimer right there. Perfect example of what you get, up one game, down the next. I don't know what is. It's just the perfect example of why he's just inconsistent goaltender, really, the last few years. But for me, this is going to be a spot where in this game, I'm looking again at something that I've been taking now for multiple games in a row here with this San Jose Sharks team, and that's their team total over and their full game and the full game over. Even with the Rangers involved, the Rangers aren't always an over team, but you get over 2.5 minus 128 with the San Jose Sharks tonight. A San Jose Sharks team that has scored 3 goals or more in 9 straight games. We've talked about this repeatedly now. How they've just been, actually, it's I think up to 10 straight games now. Yeah, 10 straight games of 3+ goals for the San Jose Sharks. And over 2.5 is only minus 128 for the San Jose Sharks team total. I got to take it. Even against a Rangers team, I'd get it when he's on his game. There's no question Igor Shesterkin could pitch a shutout, could hold them to 2 goals or less. I'm not even so sure we're going to see Shesterkin tonight, honestly. This feels like he's been really liberal, Gerard Gallant, at giving him some rest, not running him into the ice, not starting him, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row. This could be a Halak start tonight for the New York Rangers. I'm not saying it will be, but it wouldn't shock me, especially against a quote-unquote what they think is a lesser team, putting in Yaroslav Halak tonight. In net for the Rangers. But either way, even if it is Shesterkin, I like the team total over. I like the full game over. I know the Rangers, you look at their recent games, 2 goals against Seattle, 1 goal against Nashville, struggled to score some goals in the last few games, only 4 against Arizona. But it's got to happen tonight because San Jose is giving up goals. They do give up chances. I think it's an opportunity for Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, and company to really get something going offensively, especially at 5-on-5. This is becoming a power play offense only lately. A lot of their goals are coming on the power play, and they're not getting a lot 5-on-5 even strength. I think this is the chance for them to maybe change that. So 2 bets for me on this game. Sharks team total over 2.5 and the full game over 6 as well. Alex, what do you think here? Rangers, Sharks?
This will more than likely end up being a pass for me. I was looking at the draw potentially if it is Shesterkin in net. We've seen these two teams play kind of close. 3 of the last 7 meetings go into OT, but some of those games, like I said, that didn't go were kind of close battles. And the Rangers just seem to be out of sorts right now. He said San Jose getting the offense rolling. He said 3 more goals in 10 straight games. This feels like it could be one of those 3-3 games, 2-2 game heading into overtime. So 345, 350, it's worth taking a look at, but it's not going to make my official card.
All right, so a lean to the draw here for Alex, that it could be a pretty competitive game here for the Rangers and the San Jose Sharks. If you're wondering, by the way, 7-game point streak for Adam Fox on the Rangers blue line of late. And when you look at Erik Karlsson, by the way, scored the other night. Finally went into a little bit of a drought, believe it or not, scoring goals, Karlsson, but he got back, and he can be streaky. I remember he had started the season, he wasn't scoring a lot. Then he had that crazy streak. Then he cooled off. And then he finally scored the other night against Detroit. So this might be the time to jump back on the Erik Karlsson goal prop as well tonight in this game at a really good price. Kevin LeBanc is worth an option, worth a look, I think, because he's really contributed since moving up to the top line with Hurdle and Meyer. I think that's a good look from a prop standpoint as well for this game. And for the New York Rangers, I'm going to stick to the 2 guys I mentioned the last game, Jimmy Vesey, Barclay Goodrow, both of them moving up the lineup, not getting priced like it. So a couple of props that I like there in that Rangers-Sharks game as well. Again, we don't have goalie confirmations there, just projections of Shesterkin and Reimer. But again, I would not be shocked if it's Yaroslav Halak either getting the start tonight for the Rangers. All right, that is the Saturday card. What a monster slate, 15 games on tap. Excited to see them all play out throughout the course of the day and the night. Thanks to everyone for joining us live on YouTube. By the way, a reminder, check out patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month. The daily Ice Guys show betting card is posted there. Goalie charts, totals charts, tons of bonus content, and a lot more on the way. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month. Tomorrow is going to be a pre-recorded show with just me. There's only 2 games. Alex will send along his card, and I will mention it on the show as well as his best bet. On the pre-recorded edition of the Ice Guys show on Sunday. I've got to leave early, so we're just going to do a quick, short pre-recorded show on Sunday, and then we'll be back here live, of course, Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern time with the Ice Guys show once again. And, of course, we do know that it is Thanksgiving week coming up in the U.S., Thanksgiving on Thursday, and then, of course, Black Friday following that. And as far as the NHL schedule is concerned, they're going to have that huge Wednesday card like they always do right before Thanksgiving. There will be no Ice Guys show on Thanksgiving on the Thursday, obviously, because there's no NHL games that day. But we will be back on the Friday at the usual time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. There are a bunch of games starting at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Friday's show, so we will get on the air right at the top of the hour. In fact, maybe even a couple minutes before 2, so we can get through all those games before they begin. Carolina-Boston will already be underway on that Friday. If we have anything for that game, we'll just tweet it out on the Ice Guys Twitter for Friday, Black Friday, November 25th. So all systems go still for the show this week, except, of course, for Thanksgiving, where, of course, there'll be no show on Thursday. All right, best bets. To wrap it up, Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, let's go down to Big D. We'll go with Dallas playing the New York Islanders. Give me them in regulation plus $1.05. They said Ottinger, yes, he's taken some time to get back into form off of the injury, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think this will be one of those good nights tonight for him. In this Islander team that we've seen them open up a little bit more offensively, but historically they tend to kind of retreat back, and I think Dallas will be able to press them enough to where they play a more defensive game, and that should give the Stars a win. They've been playing great at home. So Dallas in regulation plus $1.05 is my best bet tonight.
There you go. The Dallas Stars in regulation for Alex B. Smith against the New York Islanders for his best bet. My best bet is, look, I've talked about this team total trend. I honestly think it's one of the better bets on my card for this Saturday slate. San Jose has scored 3 or more in 10 straight games, I should say, 10 straight games of 3 or more. And we see their team total at Pinnacle right now, over 2.5, minus 128. I think that's a terrific value right there with the San Jose Sharks. Sharks team total over 2.5, minus 128. That is going to be my best bet for this Saturday NHL card in late night action. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. Remember, just me flying solo tomorrow, pre-recorded show, and we'll get that uploaded on the Ice Guys YouTube channel in the morning. And then we're back here live on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern for a brand new week of the Ice Guys show. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And I'll see you tomorrow for the pre-recorded Sunday edition of the show and back live on Monday for the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.